FedEx full, we commanding the block. Burgundy and gold, got the city on lock. Hustling plays, they don't need to pretend. DC reppin' strong and we fight to the end. Commanders moving, no breaks, no pause. Hands in the dirt, respecting the call. K-Dot in the mid, dissect the grind. District divider with a city in mind. Join the damn squad.
Welcome, everyone, to a special edition of District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit, and thank the Lord that is K-Dot back with us after I did a couple solo episodes. Great to have you back, and on a joyous day as well. Terry McLaurin signs a 3-year, $96 million contract extension. We're going to break that down for you guys. But before we begin this episode, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. We'll do a comment mailbag and K-Dot.
No poetry, no rhymes, and no cursing. Share this bleep.
You're doing it for this one?
I'm doing it.
All right. Well,
gotta give it a shot.
I'm not doing it. Share this shit. We greatly appreciate you guys for joining us. And without further ado, let's just talk about it. Let's go into the main topic of this episode. It's been long drawn, but August 25th, 2025, a deal finally gets done. Adam Schefter goes on Get Up, says, oh, they're far apart, not even close. An hour later, it's announced. It is done. Shout out Ricky Scoops, who's been on this thing for a while. He also called the Brian Robinson trade market, ends up being the 49ers. So more legitimacy to that dog with the NFL hat on Twitter. So feel free to give him a follow. He's been crushing. Yeah, it's plain and simple as I pour myself a celebratory glass of whiskey here. Yeah, I mean, it's a good day. Your thoughts? 3 years, 96 for Terry, but most importantly, wide receiver one back in the building.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that I think everyone needs to really stick to more than anything. Number one, everybody realize it's not our fucking money. And as long as Adam Peters and everybody knows what's working as far as the salary cap, ain't none of our business in that sense. I guess I do have questions as far as that number and why the fuck has this been the holdup? Because this 32 number feels a little higher than I would have went. But I'm just glad that it got done. And the fact that we got Terry McLaurin here in the building, I don't think anybody, if you think that the team is better without him on it, you're a fucking moron. So, like, we got our guy back. Look, this is something that I've been wanting from the very beginning. And unlike a few people, I never really wavered in what it is I thought was going to happen, and it did. The numbers, once again, I don't understand what the chasm was or what this situation was, unless that $35 million might have been a little too true. Like, who fucking knows at this point? But coming at 32, Terry being back in the building, you can just see there's just this sigh of relief from everybody, especially after what we saw preseason, where if there was one position group that I think everybody's kind of like, guys, we gonna address this, it's the wide receiver room. So, like, this should bring everybody that was feeling a little iffy about things the last few weeks feeling a whole hell of a lot better about the entire prospects of this team.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking over 1,300 yards receiving last season when you include the postseason and the 16 touchdown. I mean, now we can talk about football. Right now, we can just focus on that. We got the 53-man roster coming out tomorrow at 4 p.m. We'll be able to discuss that. It's predictions week. We can go ahead and just dive into that with just joy and be like, you know what? And we can accurately predict the Washington Commanders now because we now know that there won't be any drama come week one against the New York Giants.
Right.
And if reports are true, and I believe they are, I believe Dan Quinn did confirm this, Jayden's been working with Terry in the bubble. So they are still working. It's still different with the conditioning. I would expect Terry to practice almost immediately. But now we have Terry one side. You got Debo. You got Noah Brown. All of a sudden, that wide receiver room looks a whole lot better. And we're going to see what that run game looks like as well. But it's just, you nailed it, K-Dot. Relief. Absolute relief. And now excitement. Diving into that initial number that was announced, right? Because you and I have talked about what would you give Terry in Adam we trust, etc. 3 years, 96, I'll be honest, came in higher than I thought as well. Right now, there's also a $30 million signing bonus. We're waiting to hear about the rest of the guarantees. Shit, that may be it. That's why it's not been announced. We were talking about some level of compromise taking place with that DK Metcalf deal. Yeah. What are your thoughts? I know you've leaned in like, okay, a little more than I would have paid, but overall 3 years, 96. What's your feel on it?
My feel is still that like there is still no good comp for Terry McLaurin. So like what it is that you would pay for him or not paying for him has got to do more about where it is you're positioning the team in the grand scheme, like the overall game plan for what it is the organization of the team has. And I do not know what Adam Peters has in his mind as far as what the long-term plan for the team is, right? So like I think me and you and probably on the onset of this thing, if somebody had told us about this as far as a number, like at the very beginning, we would have been like, all right, whatever, cool. Like, let's keep going, right? And then it's not until you start doing the digging and diving where it's like you start doing that comparison game. You start looking at the T. Higgins, you start looking at the Jamar Chase deal, you start looking at the Justin Jefferson deal, you start looking at the everything they have as far as San Francisco and their deal. You start comparing him to Deebo Samuel, you start comparing him to all these things, and you start realizing this situation is a little unique. Now, I think that there was the grand conversation around Terry, I think, past a certain point as this thing kept dragging on, was that it felt as though the Terry camp was just coming at a number that was just too high for anybody that wanted to mess with anything, right? I think that was sort of the overall consensus that got to a point as far as the media or the fan base, the way that we were talking about it. So when you hear that 32 number, it's sort of like, wow, what were they arguing about?
Right.
Which makes me want to lean more into, you remember me saying that, like, I always thought that there was from what I understood, it felt as though Terry was like in that, hey, I want to be in that Justin Jefferson lane, which now kind of makes sense if the number comes back at 32, because I'm still expecting one of these two camps to be a little more unhappy than the other. I'm just not sure how exactly it grows up. But at the end of the day, as I've been saying throughout this entire process, I don't really care as long as they're on the same page. I'm good with it. It's just that, like, this is never an easy thing as far as negotiating practices. And as Washington fans that have existed through the Bruce Allen era, the Scott McLaurin era, the Vinny Serrato era, how things are typically done, or they're done with a lot more animus, or money's just exchanged hands. You're just kind of like, did we make the right choice there? This felt like this is the thing that you get in that uncomfortable period, but it's what other teams that are really the upper echelon teams do. You hear about contract holdouts in Baltimore, Lamar. You hear about what happens in San Francisco as far as Brandon Ayuk or Deebo or anybody else that they've had as far as some of the contract stuff that come around there. Pittsburgh. Like, you hear about this with some of the organizations. This is never fun to go through.
No, it's never fun to go through, but once again, back to the football team. And by the way, shout out KDOT. For those that don't follow us consistently, I think your very first offer to Terry, if you were GM, was $396. You were like, AJ Brown money. Sounds about right. Lower on the guarantees. You're going to nail that. So just want to shout out my co-host for that one. And for those that know, I wavered. I was like, you know what? I don't think a deal is getting done because I don't think the team is going to get over $30 million a year. And I don't think Terry's budging from that. The team surprised me. They went over the $30 million a year mark. And so naturally, it did end up getting done. Once again, we'll see about the guarantees and stuff like that. But KDOT, we'll get more information on the contract. This is about Commanders fans today. This is about the team today. Yep. Now let's talk about the ceiling. Let's have some fucking fun with this. It's been a while. What is the ceiling of the offense? Now we've got Jayden Daniels. We bring in Laramie Tunsil. We draft Josh Connerly in the first round, right? So we're revamping that offensive line. Brandon Coleman gets kicked into left guard. He's starting to practice again. Sam Cosmi looks like he's going to return sooner than expected, not necessarily week one. But the O-line, there's promise. Brian Robinson's gone. Chris Rodriguez immediately runs great in both his preseason games. Bill looks promising as well. And now you got Terry, Deebo, Noah. We're starting to feel better about the wide receivers. Ceiling of the offense here, KDOT.
Yeah, I mean, I'd still probably say that it's pretty cat because everybody knows you're not supposed to pay a wide receiver at 30 years old this much money. I mean, that's just a death sentence.
Well, that's what we've been told.
Right. So it's over. I'm joking. Look, it's hard to say, right? Because, like, the more and more I'm watching the preseason games, and I've actually been going back and I've been looking at some of the All-22, and I've been watching some of our videos as far as the All-22s go. And I'm thinking about exactly where it is the team. I remember a lot last year that I used to come on here, and this is something I teased, and I guess I'll shoehorn in here at some point to you when we were texting.
Go ahead.
But have you heard the stat, like the PFF stat on Luke McCaffrey and his open percentage?
No, not recently.
So if they look at the percentage of snaps that you have and how open you are on those percentage of snaps, Luke McCaffrey last year ranked 4th in the NFL in highest open rate compared to the amount of snaps that he had. 4th. And it's something that I was talking about. I was like, Luke's open. Like, Luke's doing
early on.
Right? But he's still not getting the ball. So it's like, so you start questioning, like, okay, so what is that? What is that makes that the case? Like, if he's getting open, the numbers show that, right? Then why isn't the fact that, like, all right, why isn't the offense moving with the Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey's doing that? Like, what's going on? And you start looking at it, and it's like, okay, it's very hard to tell when you're watching the All-22 and you don't know exactly what's happening when it comes to playbook. There does seem to be a chance that Luke McCaffrey's not necessarily running the crispest of routes, but if I have a dude that knows just how to get open, right? If he knows how it is to sit in certain zones or whatever, then if I'm an offense coordinator, I mean, I'm sure I want to teach him the proper route running. But if you got a gift for that, that's something you got to add to the offense in a different way, right? And to me, it's like the Terry McLaurin of it all when I look at this offense, right? I've always said that, like, if I had to choose or mold a wide receiver to fit within this Cliff Kingsbury offense that I've found, it looks a lot more like Deebo Samuel than it ever does look like Terry McLaurin.
Right.
And I think that when we talk about, like, percentage of being open and stuff, that's not what Terry McLaurin does. What is he known for? Contested catch percentage.
Which means that man is always open.
Which means he finds a way to come down with the football.
I mean, come on.
But when you start looking at that, it's like, okay, so what's the deal with that? How does that make sense? And it means just that, like, Terry has that. We talk. I know you're gonna hate that I say this because the last person that said about it.
Hey, listen, Terry got his deal. I'm good to go. You go ahead. Say what you want to.
He's got special sauce. Like, there's a little bit of special sauce in the sense of, like, the amount that he works, or the grit that he works with in which he gets open. And like I said, I don't think there are a few wide receivers I've seen to be able to track a ball in real time the way that Terry McLaurin could do that, right? So what it means is that there is an element of effort. He's down there, throw the ball. So, like, if there's that like, if Terry can do that for an offense, even though it doesn't look like it should work, but it works with Jayden, then that's that special sauce that you can't necessarily quantify within the confines of what's going to happen in the offense, right? Like, I can say if Luke McCaffrey runs crisper routes, from what I can tell, when it comes to his open percentage, that's going to help move the offense forward. If Deebo Samuel does what I think he's going to do, which is be able to catch that football in motion and truck a guy here and there to get to the first down, I feel good about that, right? And then the Terry McLaurin piece is like, if occasionally, a game or two, you just chuck it down there because your boy's there, that wins you a game. That could win you a game. That could do all sorts of stuff. So, like, it just unlocks this special moment, right? It's the same thing. Like, we talk about Jayden's legs. You can't quantify it, really. Like, you don't know until it kind of happens. Like, it's just the special thing. So, like, Terry being on the offense makes you have something special to the offense. It's not necessarily what works for a Cliff Kingsbury offense. It's not necessarily what works in the confines of anything. It's just something that works. And if we're going to do that with what it is I think the offense is doing, I think we're looking at a team that's better than last year. But once again, all the variables as far as, like, what's going to happen complementary football-wise, defense with the schedule and everything, it is I have never looked at a football team that is harder to predict, I think, than this one. Maybe the Cowboys actually going into this year, but, like, chaos bad, we're chaos good. But it's like, it's very hard to tell because of what happened last year, what happened with the roster from last year to this year, this competition, that injury piece that we had that was, like, really lucky on our end. Like, I know as much as on paper in Terry McLaurin Day, we want to go ahead and we want to start shooting off fireworks.
I'm
and
about
everything.
to speak. Yeah,
I know, but once again, throughout this entire process, I've kept it medium. So while you guys might be up in arms one way or the other, I didn't think this wasn't going to happen. So, like, that's what I'm sort of at.
No, you're right. I mean, and again, just quickly on the contract piece, I think it does lend itself to what you were thinking with the Justin Jefferson thing, because I was like, where the heck are you getting that from? Otherwise, depending on the guaranteed money, I'm just going to keep it a buck. It looks like the team got bullied, honestly, right? So, like, that doesn't track in terms of if you're going to wait this long. So that's why I think the guarantees are going to end up being a lot lower than people think, because I'm now giving the benefit of the doubt to the team. And you know me, I've been Team Terry for a while, right? I'm like, the guy is special. He's able to make these plays. We don't necessarily know how he does it. He just does. And if you do that year over year over year over year, eventually it's a skill and you just got to accept it. We'll see what happens there.
I push back a little bit about the year over year thing. I think that's getting a little oversold.
If we need to go through the quarterbacks that we're throwing to him,
I'm not denying that.
I'm not
denying. Like, right. You can't deny that. When it comes to the quarterback play, they couldn't give him the ball to do the special thing the way that they needed to.
Correct. And when they did, it's over his shoulder. He's about to get clocked, and he still comes down with it.
Which, I mean, to be fair, that still happened in the chain there because everything's contested. But it just happened more.
I don't know, man. It's a red zone freak. Listen, anyway, so in terms of ceiling, I'd like to go. Thank you very much. You keep a Schmiedem. You keep doing that. But this whiskey's great, by the way.
Back up.
Yeah. The ceiling is number one offense in the league. And a lot of that is Jayden, just to be clear, right? Like that's the special, that's the true special sauce that we have, right? Is that man can march us down the field at will. It makes it so much easier with Terry because now from a protection standpoint, this helps Jayden. So one of my worries about, let's say Terry held out, is that maybe he holds on to the ball just a tick longer because he doesn't have a guy he can just chuck it to in a moment, right? Now he can. So now I feel comfortable with Jayden's longevity this season where I go, okay, if nothing's really there, he can at least give it to Terry, right? There's familiarity there. There's comfort there. So I'm with that along with the revamped offensive line. Then with Debo being able to break tackles and get extra yardage after the catch, something that was completely foreign to us last season, by the way, if you look at those stats outside of Terry, right? That really helps. And then I like the vision in the running back room. I know we're missing Brian Robinson. I touched on it a little bit, though. With the addition of Debo Samuel, with Jayden's legs, I think we should be okay in that department and still be able to run with reasonable effectiveness in different ways as well. Could be side to side on a quick sweep. Could just be right down the middle with better vision at the running back position. That has been a criticism of Brian Robinson. Good in short yardage, but when it comes to the vision there. So I like the ceiling of this team now with a happy Terry McLaurin over there. It may take a little time for him to ramp up, but I think that's the ceiling. Could it be worse than that? Yes. One thing I do want to caution, because I was listening to Rio, and huge Rio Robinson fan over here. So shout out Rio and shout out the Commanders Kings, who had a very successful outing last night. He was like, all right, well, now you got to prove that you're worth the money. I'm a pushback. He's earned the money. And however he needs to play is however he needs to play. I don't need him suddenly being different or trying to prove that he is worth the money. If he continues to do the over 1,000 yards and he's able to get to double digit, I'm good with it. Like, I don't need Terry suddenly being different. I was willing to give it to him off of what he's done right now. And I think he is that special type of receiver that can maintain consistency with his work ethic, with his style of play. I don't need him to suddenly be 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns. Not complaining. That'll be great, but I'm not out here. I'm not going to criticize Terry if he ends up with a similar stat line to last year. Perfectly good. So that's the only thing I would say specific to Terry and how we sometimes view contract extensions. It's like, all right, well, now you got to level up. I'm good with his current level. So anyway, that's my thought on the offense, K-Dot.
So on those two things, I like the ceiling question. I think forever is just going to be kind of capped until we start seeing all this just stupid predictions, right? But the Terry thing goes this: the reason that I balked at giving him a number that came into the same stratosphere as those Chases and the Jeffersons is that I think that regardless of how well he does, there's a cap because of. I don't think because of his raw talent, he'll be able to get the sort of separation because of his leg work that a Chase does. He's not as fast, right? Or he can't use his body or his frame the way that some of those other guys can do to do certain things, right? So, like, I do think that with a Terry McLaurin, you do have some built-in limitations necessarily compared to some of those other guys. But do I pay $32 million for the production that I saw last year? Yeah, I do that, right? It's just a matter of like, do you get that same production this year? Number one, which I think is actually, I think it's a legitimate question. Yeah. And the Terry piece to me is just, once again, is an offense better when you have a guy that could take the top off? Yes. Is there anybody else on the team to prove that they could take the top off a defense? Not really. The closest you get is Noah Brown, and he can't stay healthy. So what do you have? So, like, if you got that, then I think everybody can very quickly and very easily see a Cliff Kingsbury offense that has a Jayden Daniels stymied because they can't throw the ball deeper than 20 yards because they can't trust anybody to catch it, right? So, like, that alone is going to make things better, like, period. Like, you have that piece. It's just a matter of, like, if that's the only thing, You're looking for is a dude to just take the top off of defense. You kind of look around the league, you can find some burners or something that can typically do that, which is why I was like, I like the idea of what Jaylen Lane could potentially become within this offense. And I think people have seen it over the course of the preseason. Like, yeah, you can be excited about what he can do based on the Virginia Tech speed laterally. But I'm telling you, if you got a dude who can actually throw the football to him and he gets some more practice at it, I think you might have somebody that's a deep threat, right? So it's like, if you got somebody that does that, then I look at Terry McLaurin, I'm like, it's not that I don't think he can run any route in the route tree. It's that I don't think we rely on him to do so. And I think with that amount of money, I'd expect you to do so, or be so absolutely God tier in one or two things, a la your Randy Mosses, that you make it unfair. Like, it's just, you have something that nobody else has, and it's just over. I don't think Terry ever fits any of those categories. But once again, if you are knocking on what it is that he accomplished last year, which if you look over the course of the career, I know the quarterback thing, but it's the anomaly, right? And also Jayden Daniels is the anomaly. So we're looking at that.
In the same year. Interesting.
100%. But there's also an angle of, from a target standpoint, what's happening, what I was seeing of the course of the preseason. I also know that because Terry was not necessarily there, things look different or what they were trying to do. But even from what it is that you say, I'm seeing them using Debo deeper than I thought that they'd be.
Yeah, they will, by the way. Yeah.
Right. So, like, if that's going to be something that they're going to be like, all right, look, guys, we're going to press this thing, then I think that target share starts looking a little wonky. And if you're Jayden Daniels and what it says, like, the development, right? The effort, chuck it, he's down there isn't art. It's a skill. It's a confidence thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're building the bones of nailing this offense as much as that's a thing that works, right? So like that. So my thing is, like, within the confines of the Cliff Kingsbury offense, do I want to see Jayden take strides when it comes to these other guys? Yes. Do I want to see these other guys? The problem is, can these other guys take the strides to do that too? And that is where you get the big question mark. And that the question mark also becomes when you look at that Baltimore game, we are so top heavy. Like,
big time. You nailed it. That's what I've been saying in group chats everywhere. We're top heavy.
Right. So when you got that, you're just sort of like, dude, if anything works, you got to use it. Right? If anything, which is just you, because you're not in a situation where you can pick and choose. That's not what we are. We don't have that depth of talent here on the team right now. So if anything works, it works. But if you're asking me, okay, what is the best for Jayden's actual development in this Cliff Kingsbury offense to nail it primarily? It's not Terry doing what he's doing. It's not that. There's more to it than that. It doesn't mean that Terry needs to become Justin Jefferson, but I do want to see them rely on him for more things and him accomplishing some more things that I just don't think he's necessarily doing just yet.
Okay, no, that's fair, by the way. I think it's reasonable to want more from that perspective of like, oh, okay, you're not just the over-the-top guy. You need to be able to run that quick slant. You need to be able to run that hitch. You need to be able to run that deep cross. Like, I want to see more of that route tree now that we're paying you. Like, I think it's a top 6 wide receiver right now, right? So I think it's reasonable. I am just making clear that if the numbers look the same, right, or even a little dip, in my opinion, I'm okay. A little dip, just to be clear, not a big dip, but a little dip. I'm good with it because then I'm making the assumption that Debo's doing his thing, right? Or Jaylen Lane is having a nice rookie year. So I view it as investment in the offense, and I'm cool with that.
The only question I have, and it's the one that you posited also over the course of this offseason, right, is that if we take all that with a grain of salt, and Debo ends up having the year that we think he could have with us. That's a conversation at the end of this year.
Yeah, depending on the guarantees,
the amount of memes that I see of people lampooning, like I've been lampooning the Cincinnati Bengals for that offense, then you start getting that territory. It's like, all right, dude, what are you doing with this? Like, are you really going to pay these guys this much money? Two guys, they're pushing 30? Like,
yeah, that's where it gets interesting for me because we talk about the Cliff Kingsbury piece. Yeah. Debo, a better fit than Terry. I agree. Cosign. I'm right there with you. What if Cliff's gone at the end of this year? Like, the offense does very well, and now it's a new offensive coordinator, and the offense does look a little bit different. I think that's where this deal actually kind of ages well because Terry has been in any number of systems with any number of QBs, and he's been there, done that through all of it. Right. So there I feel more comfortable with it. But the Debo thing's going to be interesting. The Debo thing's going to be very interesting.
I tell you that would be a failure of the organization. And I think that's what I think that piece of it is something that we should hope is not the case. So like the reason that I got so hyped over the last not this preseason game, the burgundy and gold game, when they had Tavita Pritchard and they had Joe Witt and when they had all the guys kind of Jonathan, when they had everybody kind of step up and do this sort of thing. In my opinion, it becomes one of those things where you're building a factory. So, like, it's supposed to be that this is not just Cliff's thing. Maybe somebody can't call the plays like Cliff does. Maybe they're better. Maybe they're worse. But the idea that you're going to throw this out the window when Cliff is here kind of, I think, spits in the face of what it is I think the organization is doing.
Wouldn't be throwing it out, but you may lose some of it.
But that's the thing is, like, from understanding with Dan Quinn coming here and learning from his mistakes with the Kyle Shanahan situation when it came to Atlanta, damn well, more than anything, he cares about the continuity piece. I think the piece that people, the piece that I think I undersold, and I think a lot of people undersold, was the personal connection between Cliff and Jayden in their football nerddom and their connection there with that. That's a special thing that has nothing to do with what's going on a playbook, right? So like that is important. But the confines of the offense, if we're talking about that Debo thing at that point, then I think that what you're asking for is not the way I want to necessarily build this organization, but it's a conversation where I just need pieces where, F it, I can throw it and it works. I just need talent around, right? Like, it's not about the confines of the system. Just give me talent. And yes, of course, right? Give me talent, right? But it's got to work within what it is you're doing within the long-term scheme of the game. Look, if somebody told me right now today, I was telling somebody about this yesterday, if right now you had to give up assets on the team, not draft picks, but players.
Okay.
How many would you give up for Micah Parsons?
How many players would I give up for Micah Parsons? Jeez, I don't know. And I have to name the specific ones or what?
No, just give me a general idea. Like, what are you thinking?
Because
I can sum it up pretty quickly from there.
Go ahead.
I would trade every single person not named Jayden Daniels literally together to get Micah Parsons. And
that's
the reason,
but
the reason I do this is if I look at the age of Jayden and the age of Micah, those top tier talents on that side,
at those positions,
I'll build the rest. Like, give me that. Like, but I'll tell you, but that's if I'm getting Micah Parsons and Jayden Daniels, right? One piece on defense, one piece on offense, cogs that I can build around.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Debo's great, I am not building an offense around the two wide receivers being 30 years old, running what it is that they need to do and running the offense. I just don't see a team that works that way. The only team I've actually seen, and this is actually, it's kind of cool that it's come up kind of at the same time, even though, I almost cursed. I think I've been doing pretty good.
You've been doing great.
The Cowboys documentary.
Honestly upsetting.
The Cowboys documentary that came out, which we need to do an after the pod about this at some point. Not today, but we'll do it at some point.
Okay.
But how many teams do you know get led on offense by their receivers?
Get led on offense by their receivers? At least there are any number of teams that do, like a bunch. The more I'm thinking about them, right? So Minnesota,
but I'm asking.
Minnesota, Cincinnati, Dallas. Let's see, San Francisco. Oh no, not true. We got McCaffrey over there. Miami with Tyreek Hill. Man, no, there are any number of teams.
All disappointing, not Super Bowl winning teams. So like the point of it also, when the Cowboys team, I think when people look. I know that maybe some Commanders fans do, but if you really want to do a deep dive on something that gets really, really interesting, what I suggest everybody to really look at Troy Aikman's stats from 91 to 96. He makes the Pro Bowl all 6 of those years. Look at those numbers and tell me how the hell he did that. But then what I want you to do is I want you to look at Michael Irving's numbers around the exact same time. You start realizing the most important piece of the offense, without a doubt, by and large, not even close, was Michael Irving. He was the machine that led the thing. That is the only case in the history of the NFL that I can find that a wide receiver led a team to Super Bowl success. And that was a wide receiver that would stab other teammates in the neck with scissors. I don't want that necessarily, but that's what got there, right? I'm just saying historically, when we're looking at historically, yes, you want talent. Of course you want talent. I love the idea of it, but you have to do it in a smart way in which you're building the pieces the right way together. And if we're looking at a situation where if Debo Samuel outperforms Terry and you look at their ages, what does Debo want? Like, what's that holdout next year look like? What well, I guess there wouldn't be a holdout, but like, what would what's that going to be like that? And if I'm looking at Debo, I'm like, yeah, pay him. Like I'm looking at, I'm like, dog, you just did pay him. What are you doing? Like pay him. Like maybe not that number because he's a year older, but you got to pay him. And I look at 2 wide receivers at that. 2 wide receivers around $100 million mark.
No. So that's the thing. So that's where I push back. Where what I felt for Terry, I don't anticipate feeling for Debo, no matter how he does. And that is where, what'd you say?
The personal connection.
Well, there is a personal connection, absolutely, and it's what he means to the team. It's the leadership he's taken on with the team. It's not just poor you went through all this stuff. No, it's actually how he enables others on offense, Jayden included. So I feel like Terry is sort of that special. Like, if you're gonna pay a guy, right? Like, this is the guy, right? Out of other people that are not a quarterback or maybe not an elite defensive tackle. So that's where I view him in sort of the special category with this franchise in particular. Yeah. So then with Debo, yeah, if you need to play hardball, you need to play hardball. Of course you can't because it's the 1-year deal. But yeah, it's a conversation to come. If all goes well, it's a conversation to come, right? Otherwise, if it's no conversation, it's like, well, did Debo even do that well?
I just think it's a tough convo. So like, I just think that
it is. I agree.
That's
with you.
it. Like how that lands at the end of the day, the thing that I've stood firmest in more than any other thing was I'm with whatever Adam Peters decides to do. And he decided to do this, which means I'm trusting him that he has the long-term success of the team in mind. And he's already taken into consideration what this is. I'm going to trust that he's doing that. I just think that there is going to be a hell of a topic of conversation potentially if things go as well as people are hoping they will for this offense come next year. It's basically like just telling everybody, hey, just jot that down. Just jot that down. Just remember that. So
no, that's fair. And it's something we talked about almost at the very beginning of this, right?
Right. But with Terry McLaurin on the team, who knows what the ceiling is for this team? We're in a Super Bowl. I don't give it. I don't care. We care about that conversation. Like we're there. Like who knows? You never really know you never really know where you're going to get to. But it's interesting that I still go back to anyone that was on both sides of this thing, whether you were on Adam Peters' side or Terry McLaurin's side, which is what it felt like it did to the fan base for a little bit. I never understood the chasm, even though me and you kind of got in an argument about it. I just think it's like personal feelings about this guy that we care about a ton. Or that we care about a ton. And some people might be looking a little more colder than others at this guy, this mythical figure.
Yeah. And again, just to clarify my stance, at least, a lot of it was the tread on the tires thing.
Right. There was a giant pushback on certain aspects of this stuff, which is like, yeah, 100%. So whatever, like a lot of animus kind of gets into this, but there was never a situation I thought that if you really looked at this situation, like most of these other situations are, which is like, hey, this is not the Micah Parsons situation with Jerry Jones. This is just a contract negotiation, and this is the way it happens. There is no hard feelings. The only time I thought somebody might have had hard feelings was Terry when he did the Eastern Motors thing. But maybe he didn't, and maybe it was all just a play. Although that video of him on the sideline of the game made me think he does feel things quite emotionally, in my opinion. But that's just me. That's it. This is just put this behind us. This is the team. This shouldn't have been anything that caused any strife with us. We want this guy back, and he's here. And no doubt, this team going into this season, you are an absolute stone cold boo-boo to fool if you think it's better without Terry McLaurin on it.
That was very, very well executed at the end there, K-Dot. Listen, any final thoughts over here before we go over to a comment mailbag?
Tom, man, look at that Michael Irvin, Troy Aikman. If you don't know those stats, it's
something,
bro. It gets crazy, and I hate Jerry Jones, and that whole documentary is just an ode to that idiot. Because I hate how much I know about the Cowboys because of how many stories are missing out of the documentary. I don't want to know the things that I know about the Cowboys. All right, I'm sorry. I can talk about this stuff. It makes me angry.
Listen, when I saw it was produced by Jerry Jones, I was like, I'll give that a skip. But if you are insisting I watch it so that we could talk.
No. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying don't watch it. I'm saying you can do better research outside of this documentary to find out what actually happened with this team. Look at what happened with Troy Aikman. Look at Troy Aikman and Jimmy Johnson's history going back to college. There are so many stories that are not in this doc that make no sense to me because it's the Jerry Jones show. And the only other person that got as much play as Jerry Jones is the only dude that actually deserves as much play as Jerry Jones, which is there were two real machines on that team, and it was Deion Sanders and it was Michael Irvin. And Michael Irvin was more important than Deion Sanders. Michael Irvin is the engine that made that stuff work. If you hate the Cowboys, you're supposed to hate Michael Irvin. He's the reason.
And with that, we go over to the comment mailbag featuring an intro from our very own Nikki.
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. District divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine. Yeah.
Thank you as always for that intro, Nikki. Beginning with, so there are 2 episodes. One was a very, very quick one around Brian Robinson. We'll get to that one second. We'll go ahead and do the first one, which is Jayden Daniels, number 21 in the NFL top 100. A bit on Terry McLaurin, the Brian Robinson trade rumors, and then that comment mailbag. So here we go, beginning with Coach Lombard. Shout out. The big marker for the Baltimore game is a test of Washington's run game and Washington's run defense. Baltimore is elite at both. Washington was recently bad at both. We'll see how it goes. Well, here's how it went on literally the first drive. The Ravens marched down the field with pretty basic run schemes. Kid, your reaction?
It's like 1997 Pamela Anderson on stilts. We are top heavy. Okay. We are top heavy. And it became extremely clear in that game. Hey, guy, on the broadcast I think it was either Chick or B-Mitch, one of the two. They were saying that I forget what player they were talking about, but they were like, oh man, I was looking at this guy and I'm like, oh, he feisty. He looked like he really one of them undrafted guys that got scrappy. And I look, and he's been in the league for 10 years. It's like,
that's B-Mitch. That's absolutely a B-Mitch line. Yeah.
That's who was out there. Okay.
B-Mitch, and the reason you know that's B-Mitch is because when Cooper Rush trotted out on the field, he's like, from the Cowboys? And I was like, yes.
Love B-Mitch, man.
Yeah, me too. No, so that's the tell.
If it ain't about
the quote you just said.
If it ain't about special teams or grit, hell no, nothing about it. Right?
Go ahead.
But that's the thing, is that like the further we trot it out in preseason, the only thing that concerned me is, once again, and this might be wood, but we were very lucky when it came to the injury bug last year.
Yes.
And I think people need to understand that. When you saw what happened to Detroit compared to what we were dealing with, different thing. Houston at some points compared to what we did, different thing. I'm just saying, if that happens in certain positions on this team, it could get real ugly. real
That's
quick.
what the preseason ultimately showed, right? Is that if you get a couple injuries, I said this in a few group chats as well. If we get a few injuries in the wrong spots, and this isn't like, a lot of teams this is true for, but we went to the NFC Championship game last year, and I think people might be disillusioned into thinking we're better than we actually are in terms of depth. If we get just a couple, this thing's over pretty quickly. So that's where it's at, because there are a lot of other teams that didn't do as well as us last season that can actually withstand some of those. We're not one of them. So keep knocking on wood as much as you can and praying to the injury gods that we stay healthy.
I'd say
man.
Right now, if Bobby Wagner or Frankie Louvu go down, what you gonna do?
Like Tahoe, baby, he looked great.
Okay. I get it. Let's roll. Right.
But
oh my gosh, I don't want that to be the case.
Correct.
If Zach Ertz can't play, you feel good about Ben Sinnott right now?
Not right now.
Goes in the yank off.
Goes in the yank off, baby.
What are we
doing? Conversations we don't want to have, just to be
right.
clear.
So this is where it comes down to, is that this team is riding a razor's edge. When you look at what we accomplished last year, we rode on the back of a rookie god, right?
Let's give ourselves some credit though. Some of us were like, he is a rookie god.
Yeah, but
in April.
I think that human beings, especially human beings nowadays, we are very fickle in our memories. And I don't think we right now, sitting here after this offseason, can quite remember how close everything was every week.
The number of touchdowns in the last 30 seconds.
But the thing is that it wasn't like, but you never call this the cardiac catch, right? It wasn't one of those situations. We just, as the time went on, called like we believe in our leader. We believe in our leader.
Yes.
Regardless of what happens, we believe in our leader.
Our new religion was being born.
But then on top of that we're playing with house money. We're playing with house money. None of this matters. Like, none of this matters.
Right.
Holy crap. Are we doing this? It doesn't really matter, but we're doing it. You ride with that sort of air. That is not this year, baby. Like, that is not this year. So, yeah, just be realistic about the team.
Yeah. Nope. Please do. Please do. And K-Dot, as the Schmedium guy, I'll be there to do that. And I'll be the one freaking out, being like, K-Dot, why are we winning? Like, that's sort of how we do things here.
You're two of a recalibration.
Hey, your one went great. So Jamal Bibi Shower Bonwe, shout out. I wish they would play the starters for at least one quarter this week. The coaches have to make sure the team is in top shape against the Giants. Last year's game against Tampa looked like the team was playing in preseason. They didn't look like they were ready. It was a thumbs up over there. K-Dot, your reaction to that?
You can't chase it, right? So, like, one of the things that I think that, like, you see what Cincinnati's doing with Joe Burrow, or they with Joe Burrow this preseason, which is like, we're the exact opposite of everything else we did ever because we can't do a slow start again. I don't think it's going to work out for you guys, but it's like, but you can't chase after it, right? You got to come up with what it is you think is going to be the case. What it is from a coach standpoint, you need to see from your guys, and then know, because of the way the NFL works nowadays, with the gap between the preseason games, without the fourth preseason game, there are slow rolls across the league. And I think that we forget that. How terrible football looks sometimes week 1 and 2, sometimes even up to week 3, right? Where it's just kind of abject chaos. You get a Sao Paulo game. Like, you can do some of those things where it's just like, okay, I don't know what we're looking at right now, because everybody kind of has to do the ramp up. So at this particular point, because of what we're saying, remember 1996 Pam Anderson stilts, we can't afford to be playing guys longer than we need to play them when the games actually matter.
Yeah. So the Kansas City Chiefs, they play their guys throughout the preseason, and they do get off to fast starts. This predates Mahomes, by the way, too. This is an Andy Reid thing that he does, and that's great. In this situation, I was totally fine, because it is a standard practice for the rest of the teams too. Preseason week 3 or week 4 back in the day, you need to evaluate the rest of the roster. And did we need evaluating for this?
Right.
Because no one stood out in the first 2 weeks in terms of just the depth, right? So it was like, let's take all 4 quarters and see if we can find one guy that we feel good about, right? Like, it was very important that we did that. So for this situation, I'm okay with it. If I had to pick a side for starters to play on, Jamal, I would have picked the defense, just so that you have, more continuity and stuff like that. See what it looks like with Trey Amos, see what it looks like, who did play a little bit, by the way. But I'm not trotting the starters out there on offense. No,
I mean, 2 things. Number one is that I wish the team is there a day when we have the depth where I'm with everybody and, like, let's play these guys in preseason like Andy Reid can do at Kansas City.
Yes, me too, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And basically where the only person you're looking at is like, hey, everybody knows the most important guy in the building is, right? Without him, nothing else works. He ain't got to play if you don't want to. Rest of you guys are playing. So, like, that's what I want, is because that's what it feels like we're kind of leaning towards when it comes to the Jayden piece. I saw everything I need to see from Jayden Daniels in that one series, and I don't care what anybody tells me.
I don't know about everything, but a lot.
I saw everything I need to see this preseason from Jayden Daniels, enough for me to say, sit your ass down and wait for the regular season.
That much I saw.
That's what I'm saying.
When he took off on the run, I was like, that'll be enough.
Why am I doing that? Because here's the thing that, like, look, there are some teams where if the guy goes down, they're definitely not going to be as good, right? Lamar Jackson for Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's a god himself, right? Maybe not as clutch as Jayden Daniels, but God himself.
He's not as clutch.
But I will tell you, if they lose Lamar Jackson, that team is still pretty well stocked, right? Mm-hmm. Kansas City, do I think they're going to lose more games than they win? Probably, maybe, probably. But at the end of the day, I still trust Andy Reid within the confines of that offense to still get something done, and so for the defense to work, right? If something happens to our kid, we're done. But that's the second piece. The second piece is that I don't know what I'm looking at preseason without Jayden Daniels on the team. It's not the team.
I would request that all you guys who follow us, and we appreciate it, stay subscribed to us while we take a brief hiatus should anything happen to 5. Okay, because what are we doing? I mean, let's just be
Start.
real, right? It was like, we'll see you when he's back. Like, you know, maybe we check in on Mariota. We're like, oh, okay,
I'm checking out Mariota.
all right. No, I'll check him out. But yeah, I mean, man, anything. Okay, knock on wood there. We go over to Tony OG. Amit, good job holding down the show while K-Dot was out. K-Dot, get well, buddy. You got to chill with the booger sugar. And for those that did watch that last episode, one, greatly appreciated, and two, yeah, he did his best to hang. He knows that, but you know, it's not for everybody. Get out your reaction.
So look, I'm trying to keep it cool because like I care about this podcast a great deal, right? Like I care about where it is that I think we're going to go. I think we got a family in the comment section. I think it's all good. What I did not appreciate is, so you see, like it's really light where I'm at, right? Mm-hmm. I don't understand how you go out with a buddy who begs you to go out because he never really goes out, and then all I know is that I drank my drink and I woke up on the West Coast. So, like, look, you might think doing what Bill Cosby did is cool, but you don't do that to your friends. And, like, I don't understand how that's
I wasn't responsible for the flight.
Look, man, I'm just I don't understand how I got here. I'm appreciative that I'm here. Like, Seattle's a very beautiful town, but, like, it wasn't of my own accord, and I didn't appreciate it. And, like, I don't think that being in the presence
if
of
I
your
could
friend,
pull the curtain back just a little bit.
Hang on, man. Hang on. Okay. Like, I don't appreciate the fact that, like, if I'm with a friend, I got to worry about covering my glass in your presence. I think it's you.
Whoa.
I get the A train thing, but it's you. Like, how are you going to let me how are you going to slip that in my drink and have me wake up on the West Coast?
That's
man?
not what happened.
You know, everybody in Clarendon, you better watch out. All right. If you've seen this man, you better cover everything. You can't get with you. You know what you should do?
That's
bring
a good general
safety
like tip, by the way. Everyone should be doing that anyway. I do not do any such thing, just to be clear. Your inability to handle a night out with a buddy is not my thing. And I still texted you after, just quick behind the curtain, saying thumbs up this message if you're safe with a little heart. And you did thumbs up it, and I appreciated that. I didn't know you'd be in the West Coast, but
brother,
like, yeah,
I woke up in a port with a bunch of people that didn't speak English. So they put me on the wrong thing. I don't know what you're into, but you need to leave me out of it. I'm not going out anymore. Okay. It's not my fault, but I will also say you did a hell of a job stepping up and doing a solo episode when I was not here. Even though I do think it was overall in your grand scheme of things to create this semi Fox News, Emmanuel Acho, whatever thing you're doing, but it was good. You did a good job.
No, I appreciate it. Well, you know, just based on the view count stuff, I tried something. It did not work. You know, so there's also that. We go to, and Big Papa Grizzly hits on this immediately. We'll start with his second comment, which is why it begins with also, and then we'll go to his first comment. Also, this was a quiet episode. We miss you, K-Dot. You did a great job solo, Amit. Even snuck in an A-train dig on yourself. Don't think the OGs missed that one. See, you were missed, my guy. Like, it was difficult. By the way, I was even telling Kate on this. I was like, Lord have mercy. 28 minutes. Like, it was difficult because even going through the Jayden Daniels piece, like, no one to go back and forth with it. I was like, all right, it's been under 2 minutes. Guess I'm done with that. Then we go to Terry because I'm not going to give you fluff either. But it was just like, man, this thing sort of flies by and you've exhausted everything without your partner in crime there, co-host. So you were sorely missed, K-Dot, and do appreciate you guys for the shout outs though. Your reaction.
No, man, you killed it. Man, like there's I will say this. Because I've done a lot of podcasts and a lot of shows, all kinds of stuff. What we do and what we have is different. Like there is a chemistry that existed with us from the very beginning of this thing that everybody like, we kind of picked up on that it became easier to do things as far as the back and forth. That's hard to come by. That's why it's like this is something I don't want to give up on. Why I'm very upset that Emmanuel Acho will replace me one day is that like the aspect of like the way that we have the banter and the way that we kind of riff off of each other. That's timing you can't quite find. Grant Paulson, Danny Rouillet, Danny found a new guy. Like that's what happens is like you get that off balance with it. The thing that scares me is I love talking into a microphone solo, which is why you have not heard any of the solo things that I've done on my own, is because I do realize when I'm listening about halfway through, I feel like I'm in a zone and I think I look like a douchebag. So like
those are often the best ones.
But I'm just like, but you just I start feeling it. But it's also because I can talk forever.
That's why people tune in.
No, but what I'm getting is that, like, look, we've heard enough people say, hey, we had to turn the volume down because you were on it. Like, I always say that what makes this really special is you bring a certain level of professionality to the show where you have a polish about you that's just unique for somebody that doesn't have the background in broadcasting and stuff you don't have. Like, that to me is like, you are great that way. I'm a clown. Like, I'm a loud clown. It's okay. Like, you need your morning zoos. Waka, waka, waka. Like, I can do what I can do.
No, you're the schmedium guy. An excellent at
Which
it,
is
by the way.
crazy. How am I the schmedium
awesome.
guy also the
Because
clown?
this is your co-host. That's what happens. Here's the other comment from Big Papa Grizzly. B-Rob for Debo and a trade swap, the draft pick swap. Yeah, I'm making that deal all day, every day. It was just a package deal that took 6 months to finalize. And so just as a reminder to folks, we traded a 5th-round pick to the San Francisco 49ers for Debo Samuel. They, 6 months later, end up trading for Brian Robinson, give us a 6th-rounder. So all in all, that's what it ends up looking like between the two teams in 2 separate deals. And Big Papa goes, stop the charade. It's one large deal. K-Dot, your reaction.
I mean, you can look at it that way. I'm cool with looking at it that way. Like, the Brian Robinson thing is like, I like Brian Robinson as a player. I just think within this offense, he's absolutely peaked with the talent we have on the offensive line. It's just not going to work. I don't think it works. Like, but in San Francisco, I think that it could be something. And with CMC, I think that could be something. Like, with their offensive line, that could be something. It's just not here right now. You need somebody that's able to just make stuff happen. And like, when you're doing a lot of this shotgun, there's a hole in the draw plays. You need somebody that's quick to go hit that damn hole. And I just don't think we've had that in Brown Rodgers. It's way too slow developing.
That's well said. This offense, to me, K-Dot, while I'm looking at it, is we get plays off quicker than most teams. Maybe all teams, if I remember correctly. If you have a speed back with some vision, oh, that's scary, right? Like, for a defense where all of a sudden it's not, oh, okay, we got this sort of, it's not a play off, but like Brian is more of that hammer type. He's looking for contact. You'll end up feeling it, but it's now 2nd and 7, 2nd and 6, something like that. With a guy like Chris Rodriguez or Bill, you know, what we're projecting Bill to be, hopefully, knock on wood, right? You can actually bust a play. Right. And then all of a sudden we're at the line again. And now it's Debo and it's more physical. And now it's Terry over the top. This team's exhausted, right? Like, this defense is exhausted. This fits more, right? Which is why I think it came at a good time. Just
also why both of us wanted Travion Henderson,
who looks amazing.
Which is, everybody's saying that, like, we got like the sleeper him in Ja'Cory or Bill. It so bothers me to call him Bill. I'm sorry. I know that's what he wants.
That's what he wants. Yeah.
I know. It bothers me.
We'll tell him that when we have him on. DeSanto over here. Shout out. Hi, everybody. B-Rob is gone, but not forgotten. He's a good dude, but the trade came at the right time. They have had enough time to evaluate Bullet Bill and Eckler's health. I'm surprised they got anything below a 7th-rounder for him. It was their last chance to get anything in return for him. Terry is going to have to accept reality and that his 3rd contract isn't going to involve the moon. He'll be playing this season for Washington. At one point in time, K-Dot said he wanted this organization to be ran professionally, and that some of these decisions would be heartbreaking for the team and fan base alike. Hard decisions lead to easier lives. Our front office is being ran by professionals, and analytics are involved. They pay cash to cap so they don't end up in dead cap hell like the Eagles will in a year or two. Business is ugly and cold. That's what the Harris Group already knew and why they hired killers on the payroll. We will no longer have lovable, underwhelming players on this team for years, folks. It's a new era in DC, and it's not for everyone. Share this shit. It's beautifully said there, Jess. K-Dot, your reaction.
That's Ben talking about it. Like, yeah, this is what I want. Like, in order to make progress, you're going to have this pain. The thing is that I prefer this pain in off seasons and things compared to the pain I used to see on the football field with teams that didn't make sense. And I think that what you're also seeing as far as no love lost as far as people that Adam Peters didn't pick, but you also look at the teams that these guys came from and they didn't make sense. You had Ron Rivera, who wanted to institute more of a bully physical sort of game. Okay, you got Brian Robinson. That makes sense. Then you hire Eric Bieniemy, who wants to be all, I'm going to throw the ball and we're going to be finesse and there's no physicality in anything we're doing ever. It didn't make sense. So you have all these disconjointed pieces and they don't fit what we're doing now. you're looking at players that Adam Peters would have never picked because they don't fit what is happening, which is, once again, there I go that Terry piece just slightly. So like there is that, like there's that angle of it. And then the other thing, as far as the business aspect of things, is like, look, I'm over here in Seattle and I've been messing around with too many of these 20-year-olds with body hair. So I've been getting a little woke. Capitalism sucks. Okay. Business, exploitation, all that crap, it sucks. And when you start talking about money, you lose the soul of everything. And that's the part of this that we have to understand, is that business part. And you got to try your best to compartmentalize both of those things and just enjoy the product on the field. It's not your money. It's not your money.
And the other thing about it is, this isn't like baseball, where there is no cap. The NFL has a salary cap that you have to deal with. So, Jess, that's beautifully said. I also want to say that Brian Robinson, I was also surprised when we got the 6th round pick instead of the 7th. Turns out the team is eating some of the salary this coming season, which is why I think it ended up getting elevated to a 6th round pick from the 49ers side of things. Otherwise, I think it would have been a 7th rounder, or maybe even a pick swap, because we were talking about Matt Breida, we were talking about Cam Akers, we were talking about all those examples which involved pick swaps. And so that just sort of is what it is. K-Dot, unfortunately, talking about being woke and capitalism, got disconnected by the government, I suppose. Here comes the next set of comment mailbag. Yes?
I'm saying get JD Vance off of me just because I'm talking about capitalism.
No, I literally said that. You're gonna listen to this episode.
Oh no, I can hear you.
Oh, and he's
trying to stop a brother from talking.
And he's back. Welcome back, K-Dot. Going to MF Quotes. Shout out. Damn. Heartbreak emoji. My favorite Brian Robinson play was the Monday Night Football game against the Eagles in 2022 when he dragged Fletcher Cox and 2 other Eagles for a touchdown. I got 2 thumbs up. K-Dot, assuming you're there, your reaction.
I'm here.
Great.
We're going to go old school. This is your college dorm girlfriend.
Your audio sounds better now.
Who fucking knows, man? You buy all this stupid shit. Oh, so close.
Got him. Got him, Tony.
Tony, I'm sorry, man. I wasn't really listening. I was trying to get this camera thing figured out.
That's the right thing to do. Your reaction, K-Dot. Brad Robinson.
I don't have one. I don't remember. What about Brian Robinson?
Favorite Brian Robinson moment?
Big hat. It's Big Hat and Many Men.
Many Men. That's iconic.
Yeah, Many Men is like, that's one that's going to stick with me forever.
Yeah. But this one, I believe we were going against the undefeated Eagles at the time. Heineke ends up with the personal foul, late hit, and does the first down. Like, I think it's that game. B-Rob, as he's getting stuffed at the goal line, pushes through 2 different players, stretches out for a moment, gets it. Epic moment for him and for the team as we took down the undefeated Eagles at that time. We go over to Benjamin Cole, shout out. It's a necessary evil, y'all. And that is, again, in reference to the Brian Robinson trade to the San Francisco 49ers for a 6th round pick. And Jamal Bibishar Bonwi goes, good deal. Let's go. K-Dot, your reaction to those 2?
Yeah, it's to get the compensation for anybody in a running back, especially one that's like
an expiring contract, to Jess's point.
But that's also why I do think, look, I just don't think Brian Robinson's skill set's useful here. It does not mean that he's not still a useful running back, and that's why I think San Francisco makes that move. I do think he can be something, especially in like a backfield with a good complementary person. They just need a more physicality at the point when it comes to the offensive line for it to work as well as it needs to. But yeah, any compensation for that, where it's like, I'm sorry, but as the preseason went on, it's always the reason that we had in our mock drafts or anything we've talked about running backs is because we looked at this room and said, what we saw in the Cliff Kingsbury offense, this doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The room doesn't make sense. So I'm glad to see Chris Rodriguez has found another gear within this. That's been kind of cool to see, but a lot is resting on Bill's shoulders. And as much as I think people are forgetting Austin Eckler just a little bit, he also, the whole point of him coming here was that he didn't want to take the lion's share of anything. So I think that'll still probably be the case for him.
Vindo goes JCM to the moon. Kid, I do want your reaction to this one here.
JCM, just Ja'Cory.
Crosshair. Bill to the moon, yes?
I'm almost there. I'm not there yet. I'm almost there. So like, who was it that said that he was like LaDainian Tomlinson wrapped up in somebody else?
Dude, I don't know who said that, but I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Even I am like, calm down.
But like, I don't know. We're starting to get into fantasy football mode. Like, this is crash week before the draft, and like, you start reading some of this stuff, and there are people that are really, really high on him. There always becomes like the thing that happens right around this part of the season where it becomes like the thing. You'll always have your football friend that you know doesn't really know a lot about football, but he might read a lot about football, and he comes to you with something like he's an insider. You don't pay attention to that guy. He's following like this underground trend of people that think they might be smarter than everybody. I'm worried that Bill's thing is sort of feeling like that. It's like the thing that the people that are in the know are saying. And it's like, I don't know about that just yet. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying because of the lack of tape, because of the fact that he had the year off and what it is that I'm seeing within this offense and the fact that I don't have a lot of faith in the offensive line, the run blocking means the jury's out for me. That what I'm with the threshold that they're basically asking Bill to produce by getting rid of Brian Robinson, I think kind of the built-in pressure is a lot. It looks like a lot of people are expecting a lot from Jacory or Bill, and I'm going to. I don't want to put that much on them just yet because I do still think that the offense as a whole has some work to do as far as the run stuff goes.
Yeah, I'm not only going to push back on this, Vindo. I love you, man. OG. I'm gonna crush this dream real quick. Because I love Bill, right? But when you look at his numbers, he wasn't averaging too many carries a game. Let's start there. In college, okay, we have a large sample size over there. Wasn't that many. I want to say it was between 12 and 14 or something like that, and that's in college, okay? Now, let's look at this preseason. Let's look at training camp. When he runs, he looks good. That's true. He's also been banged up twice now. Right. So this idea that he's suddenly going to take 20 carries a game or even 18 or 16, and he's going to be healthy through all of it and produce through all of it is a bit of a pipe dream. Okay. So when I look at who to the moon, if I had to pick one in our backfield, it's Chris Rodriguez, who has shown that he has been able to run with vision, can block, especially on third down when absolutely necessary. He's actually the guy to me that here's what happens on social media, right? You get some good reviews around a rookie. That's always exciting stuff, right? It's a new player in the league. You hear a couple good things and you go, hey, this guy sounds like he's doing well. And the fantasy football people love him, right? Then a trade happens. Oh, it means it's for him. I don't think that's what this means. Because when I look at the running back room, when we talk about Cliff Kingsbury and his offense, if I'm keeping 4 running backs based on fit, we have that, right? McNichols plays special teams, right? And he can also do short yardage if absolutely necessary. Austin Eckler, we know how important he is in special teams, right? Like, and what he does on third down for us and sometimes second down. Then you have Bill, who, yes, he has nice vision, but can he handle, all the carries in a given week? I don't think so based on his history. And then there's Chris Rodriguez, who expect to be the lead back and split with Bill. I think that's the plan. And then Austin Eckler is actually the one who maybe gets the most in terms of snap percentage, but it ends up being on like a second, third down type thing instead. So JCM to the moon, sure. I would say sell that to people who aren't Washington fans. And then look at Eckler or if we're talking from a fantasy perspective or Chris Rodriguez.
I cannot stress enough. I think Eckler's being supremely slept on right now.
I agree.
I think that Eckler's the name that are people forgetting what he looked like at certain points last year? I'm just saying the running, just blocking wasn't there, but he's the only person I saw last year on offense outside of Terry and De'Ami Brown at the end that popped off the screen at times. That was what I saw when it came to Austin.
You're breaking tackles, look quicker than people were expecting.
So that's what I'm saying. If you keep that man fresh, to me, this running back room is the epitome, the absolute, not the running back room. I'll take this back. The rushing attack for Washington to me seems like the absolute epitome of committee.
Yes.
More than I might have ever seen ever. And that comes from Deebo Samuel, Jayden Daniels. Those two guys alone are going to have such a significant percentage of offensive rushing that it throws everything else out of whack, right? What does a lead back even mean for this team, right? And then if you say, all right, screw it between Eckler and those guys, Because once again, what did we see in preseason when it came to Bill? Throwing him the ball a lot, right? A lot. I really do think you look at him and Eckler or Rodriguez, I think they're just going to be asking everybody to do everything. I think that what I'm looking at on the offense is they are having a lot of Swiss Army knife guys. And that to me is like, okay, they're trying to play the mismatch game. They're trying to play I told you guys, if you haven't played the new Madden, if you check out the Cliff Kingsbury playbook in Madden, you don't even know what's happening. Some of the plays until afterward. You're like, who am I supposed to throw it to? Like, it's a little. I'm sorry, that's going to be a big portion of this Cliff Kingsbury offense. Is a lot of sleight of hand sort of stuff.
Big time. We go over to the Hawk TV and Earl Bruce. We'll pair these because they're both sort of similar tone there. Shout out. The Hawk TV goes, thank Brian Robinson for your service. He was a part of a major turnaround last year for this franchise. Prayerfully, you go on to flourish in San Francisco. So that's one. That's from the Hawk TV. And Earl Bruce goes, I wish B-Rob the best in San Francisco. He's not really Kyle's type of running back, but they are so banged up at the position that the trade makes sense. C-Rod played behind a terrible offensive line in college, so he had to develop vision and toughness. He'll be fine as the lead and short yardage back. That's plugged in right there. Eck and Mac will fill their usual roles. Bill will provide vision and explosiveness, plus Jayden is Jedi 5 and will be his own running game. All in all, a good trade for all parties. Now AP will have 6 picks next year to cook with. Was that K-Dot I saw last night out with A-Train? If so, that no cussing vow won't last very long. SMDH. Earl on it. K-Dot, your reaction?
If you have any video of me out, I'd like it. My lawyer wants to see it. But outside of that, I'm sorry. You guys are not going to find me miraculously finding these guys that have been here for a year, 2 years, or whatever, and tell me the guys that I know are C-tier talent are going to be the thing that is like the key cog in this stuff. I can't get there. I like Chris Rodriguez because of how he runs. The boy runs angry. He runs hard. And sometimes to me, that's reckless in the way that he can run. Okay. And that stuff to me does not necessarily reach for longevity when it comes to running back position, especially if you're somebody that's usually down that depth chart. So like, take it with a grain of salt. In my opinion right now, from what I've seen, from what it is they're able to do on the field, the best running back we have is Austin Eckler, and there is a chasm until it's proven otherwise to me.
So my optimism around the running backs, because that makes total sense, right? They've been here for a while. So like, how are they suddenly like, this solution, this RB1 that everyone is like, oh, of course. Chris Rodriguez, he was there the whole time. Like, I understand where you're coming from. And so a lot of my faith is because when I think of running games, I think of offensive line play, right? And so for me, I have admittedly blind faith that this offensive line is going to be better and be able to create lanes for our running backs. And I think then it helps them shine, right? Laramie Tunsil, Connor Lee, Brandon Coleman. I like what I see. I think you have the better sense, honestly, K-Dot, between your all 22 reviews and seeing how they move and how it should project out to be. But I remain blindly optimistic about it. So that's where a lot of my excitement is coming from, is them, which enables them.
I'd say right now, and that could be the case because we haven't seen the full complement of the offensive line, right? But right. If the preseason is any indication, then what it is I think about the offensive line that they've shown me have just shown me even more. Which is when you start looking at some of the stats for some of these offensive linemen this preseason, they've done a damn good job when it comes to pass blocking. And outside the Cincinnati game, I have not seen a rushing attack because Cincinnati just.
It was the only time we saw the starters, though. It was only 4 plays.
but I'm saying, but even throughout the course, like they could move Cincinnati's defense, right? Because
a lot of teams are going to be able to do that.
Cincinnati's defense, right? But outside of that, and I remember the worst run defense I've ever seen in my life was in person in 2009 or 10 in Wisconsin. I was at the University of Wisconsin, University of Indiana game in which Wisconsin scored, I think, 84 points in that game. You could have drove a Mack truck through the line. I was like, dog, I am not one of those guys that watch sports on TV and say, I can do that. We all know guys that are like that. I'm not that guy. I was like, yeah, I think I could get about 80 yards a day. But that's what that Cincinnati game looked like to me. And I'll tell you right now, even when what I saw with that, I still didn't see them score it well like Baltimore did against us. I still didn't see them score it well like Travion Henderson looks like when he had the New England Patriots.
You're doing that against everybody, though.
So that's my thing, is like, even if you got this cupcake football squad in Cincinnati, and even though we look good, if I want to feel good about it, I need to see dominance.
That's fair. That's fair. And I will emphasize the term blind when talking about the optimism that I have, because we haven't seen it yet to K-Dot's point. So we'll have to see. And then Michael Meenan, shout out. Giants fan here. Wow. I really like Brian Robinson. He always seemed to get the tough yards. Tough yards plus. Very surprised DC dealt him. And so, Michael, first off, thanks for stopping by the channel. We really appreciate it. So again, the primary reason he got dealt, in my head, K-Dot, is that because he was a fine running back, right? Like, not this excellent running back, good, but then you're not going to extend him. And we've talked about that even in, the past, in last season, where we're like, his contract's coming up. You just don't really pay running backs like you used to. That is I think, main reason he gets moved. And then also when you factor in Cliff Kingsbury's offense and what it wants to look like, it's not really a fit either. He's a talented back, and he may end up doing a great job in San Francisco. It just didn't fit here. K-Dot, your reaction?
I think it's only the second piece.
Okay.
I think that you're seeing a GM in a recalibration put players that make sense on the team. And I don't think it's not Brian Robinson's lack of commander intangibles. He has those. It's, you don't fit the offense, brother. Like, you just don't fit the offense. So, and look, if you have a running back in this league that you're not going to use, there are diminishing returns every second for what it is you're going to get for that person. And if a deal is out there, do it if you're not planning on playing this guy.
Yeah. And we have so much hope for Bill, right? As a fan base, we're like, oh man, that's a 7th round pick. You got a 6th rounder back, right? Like, so there's just something to think about when it comes to the running backs and like where you can find talent. A 6th rounder can be quite valuable at that position in particular. So just something to note. And then the final comment, potentially prophetic over here, because this was an hour before the Terry McLaurin news, but the kid's from California and got a soft spot for the Niners. Spencer Brudig, shout out, old co-host of the podcast. We back. And tell you what, maybe the Niners are back with Brian Robinson. Maybe we're back with Terry McLaurin. And maybe District Divided is back here with K-Dot. And this was the show. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to a fully united District Divided here today around Terry McLaurin getting his money, 3 years, $96 million. Still waiting on the guarantees, right? Because we want to see what that looks like, and we'll have a better sense of what the negotiation was. Ultimately, we won't truly know. But thank you guys for listening. And if you enjoyed the episode, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and K-Dot.
I'll actually say that if we find out the details of negotiations, I'll be disappointed in the organization. Share this.
You already did it.
Blank.
Okay. So just the one. Not bad.
Look, here's the thing. When I get to flowing at certain points, there were a couple times in this episode where I was like, I could have sworn I just cursed. Did I curse? If I curse, please tell me. I want to see how well I did. It was a personal exercise. I just wanted to see if I did it correctly.
You did a fantastic job. I mean, the only time you did was when you disconnected from the internet because the government was like, hey, silence him.
And see, I don't get it, man. It's you and all your cronies.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying is like, look, all I know is that the National Guard's in
D.C. End the recording.
And then K-Dot had to go out to the West Coast. Those things aren't a coincidence.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.